Welcome to another Thursday where we're talking about the Peruvian nature mystic tradition. I'm Hank, this is Melissa, and we'll give a little bit of time for people to realize we're here.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
It
And
must
today
be.
we're going to talk about Chumpi stones or Chalpy stones, but we'll wait to get into that for just a little bit. And the real thing that makes these streams is when you have a question or a comment, because the energy of the day might not be the topic that we planned on. Maybe it is something going on in your life, and we could speak to how something from the tradition could help you. So don't feel that you're here just to listen to us. We would love for this to be more participatory.
Yeah, the questions, because sometimes those questions help spur on the topic. And maybe a whole bunch of you have the same question, but somebody just needs to ask it. Who's brave to type in the question?
Yeah. Question, or just, this is the crap storm that's happened in my life. What do you got for me from the Peruvian tradition of the Paco Cuna? Yeah.
The crap storm?
I'm trying to not swear, so I'm not very successful usually, but I am making an effort.
PG-13 edition.
I have a swear jar now, so I put money in that if I swear.
Oh, mine would
infraction jar.
Mine would be full, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool! I can go get coffee now. Great."
Yeah, you probably could go on vacation with how much you would have in your jar.
Probably. Like I have to mentally do gymnastics whenever I'm live to like rework everything before it comes out of my mouth. It's not really that bad, but it's a little bit censored.
Yeah.
So the chumpies, right? We've hinted, we've talked, we've alluded stones. And Hank, I say you use yours way more than I use mine.
I use them not as often as you might think, but are we just diving in? This is a chumpy stone. And a little history, first of all. In the tradition, they didn't used to be stones, they used to be shells way back. And then they became stones, and then they started with just 5. And if you go to Peru now, like, you'll find stones that have like 8 points and 12 points and 30 points, and they just keep making them and making them. But what I believe happened, and this is a pure hypothesis, these stones correlate to 5 energy centers of the body, and kind of like chakras, but they're not chakras. They're more like lenses or eyes where energy comes into or out of the system versus like energy distribution. And when the Spanish came and there were 5 stones and they heard about these things, they related them to chakras. And that's one of the big things that will get the Carol up in a bunch. They don't relate away the tradition. The difference, the gold is in the differences. So don't say, oh, that's like my chakras and I don't need to learn it, and you stop looking at what's different. You really want to look at the differences. But because of that, they started making 7 instead of 5. And then they started going, if we made more stones, we could sell more stones to more tourists. And now they have a whole bunch of them. But I believe that that's the evolution from 5 to 7 and now to all the different ones. But that is just a hypothesis.
Capitalism.
Capitalism, yes.
Debbie wants to know, how similar are they to runes?
They're not a divination tool. They are a tool to weave belts of energy, though there is a more modern day use that's been imposed upon them. So they give you this is not a Zane teaching. Let me preface it with this from from another source, that you can take these stones, the 7, and you put them in little bags or a pouch. And then in 2 other pouches, you put a red carnation and a white carnation. And then you would have the person pick the bags, and based on what they pick, you would do like a reading or do a healing on it. But that's like a real modern day use. They really had nothing to do with that. It's all about weaving these belts of power. And we weave the belts of power to better. It's like you put a Teflon coating on your bubble, and Zane would say, stuff sticks, but it doesn't stick, just like Teflon. And so like the belting ceremony and what it does for you is it just gives an empowerment that as things come and hit your field, it shifts them so you might react or respond differently. So instead of reacting from impulse, maybe you're reacting with compassion and that type of thing. So it just elevates the reactionary state of your bubble, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, like with any tool, I'm sure you can extrapolate and make them a type of divination for yourself. But in general speaking, like they're strictly a healing or a teaching tool, not not a divination.
Yeah. And they don't even have to have the points. Like there's this one is for the first Nawi, then we have 2 points for the second Nawi, then we have 3 points for the third Nawi, and Nawi just means I, and those are the energy centers. But Zane would say, if you don't have these for the class, when we get to that point, you just go out, you pick 5 stones, and you write with paint on them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not relevant. This is just like these are works of art, really, and there's all kinds of different. Like Zane actually told me this is one of the nicest sets he's ever seen. And then they have different carvings. But even this is the condor. We have the puma. There's the snake going around. All that is just embellishment. It could also have the sun or the moon or a tree or a mountain. It's just whatever the artist happens to want to put on them. And then on the bigger ones, we also have like the coca leaf is on one of them. I have to find it. Yeah, coca leaf is on there. The kintu actually, set of 3. So there's a lot of meaning built into them, but that's really more of an artistic thing as versus like a functional thing of what they're used for.
No, I'm sure people want to ask, does it matter the kind of stone that they're made of, Hank?
I don't believe so. Like alabaster is really common because because it's easy to carve. And then you also have, I think this is soapstone. No, what did Zane? He gave us 2 options. This one actually, this is like a relic here. This was carved by the one and only Don Zane Curfman. There was one class where he offered for the students to buy a rune set. See, Debbie's got me saying runes instead of Chumpi stones. They offered a set of 5 Chumpies that Zane carved, and I was one of the people who signed up, but I got 1 stone. Zane's holding out on me for the other 4. I told him, listen, before the stream, I'm going to use this as a passive way. I can be like, hey, Zane, I still only have my one little Chumpi stone. And I think,
how long?
I don't have it. It's been years. But, I find it's really special, though, that I even have. It's just like a special kuya that I have from Zane. So I really appreciate that. And it kind of, I don't know, it's cool. You can make them yourself. The soapstone is really Ohio pipestone, I think they call it. But it's really carvable. If you really wanted to, you can make your own.
That was the other option that he offered, was the pipestone.
Yeah. And then the other thing that is that's common in Peru, they call them ancient ones, but there's like meteors that will hit on the mountaintops, and there's like these little really dense. I don't really think they're meteorite. It might be more like tektite, like from the impact of the meteor, it fuses together, and you'll find Chumpies carved with that. It's unusual to see like artistic carvings on them. They're just really dense and heavy, and I do have a set of those. I don't have it with me. I can show them on a future stream. But they call those ancient ones just because something came from space and impacted our planet. But here's the thing, we're in space too. We're just as old as all the other space stuff. So is it really older? But it is something more from out of this world than other things. And I think that's makes it a little bit more sought after for whatever reason.
Well, good morning, all of our friends joining us. Right, rubs eyes. And I'm like, yep, 3rd cup of coffee. I got you. Hey, Chair. Yeah, I just have the 1 set, and honestly, mine kind of just sits there, looks pretty. I think I've used it maybe twice in belting. That's where I'm like, I know you've done more belting and more working than I have.
Randomly, though, I think I've done 3 belting ceremonies in the wild, and part of that is, for those of you who don't know the story, I'll save it for a different stream, the whole thing, but I was gifted this set that I have, and the person who gifted it to me didn't know how to use them, and this set is what made me look Zane up. And I was Googling Chumpi stones, like, how do I use them? And I found Zane's book, and I found Zane, and then that's when I went to learn with them. But to use them is something that's based on a whole bunch of other work. So it's not like you could just pick someone and, hey, I'm going to weave your belts. There's other work that is done prior to that. So there was that's maybe the 5th or 6th weekend out of 7 weekends of the apprenticeship program. And that's when we got to it. So like the energetic conditions to find somebody in the wild that is, you can just belt. It's come up a couple times, but it's not frequent.
Yeah. There's a lot of prerequisite work, that the person does and goes through and learns before you belt them.
Yep.
So, and you have helped teach a few more of the classes with Zane than I have. And you've gone on some of the retreats that I have not gone on, which some of the belting is happening there because unfortunately either the store has just been way too busy and I couldn't get away, or you guys were out in the middle of the woods in the middle of summer with no AC. And I'm like, I am not
I
looking
know.
to. You guys go have fun. So
That's
yeah,
kind of fun. I remember my first outdoor event with Melissa. It was at this event in Bedford or whatnot, and she was just completely melting in the sun, and I was scared for her. True
yeah,
story. Now she
yeah,
sends people to do those events.
yeah. I'm like, you like being in the heat? Go carry on.
Yeah, your partner at the time was going and bring you ice cream and slushies or whatever he could to bring
Sitting
you
in a
just cool
cooler full of
stuff
ice, trying to stay conscious, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's
because you're
nothing.
crazy.
Yeah, not anymore. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. So let's see, what else was it with the building? Like one thing before what I will have is like I have these on my mace a lot of times. Like when I start doing my clinic at Goddess Sleep, which will be the first Thursday every month. So next February on the I forget the date. There's you can go to the Goddess Sleep website now and you'll see it there. But it will be on February 1st next month. I have the whole Mesa spread and I kind of just tell you, hey, pick a couple things that stand out to you. So here's my Mesa, just to give you a little idea. I would just say, pick a couple things. You'll see the Chumpi stones kind of down on the left. And sometimes people might pick a stone and then that tells me information. And I just kind of customize it. So like, even if you weren't using them as intended, if it's shining to somebody on your Mesa or one stone is shining to you, poof.
No, it's all good. No, I had a sneeze, so it's
It's
fine.
okay. There's a mute button. I'm kidding.
Nobody wants to
It's
see
better.
that either.
Oh, you kablooied all the special stuff. There we go. Put it back. But and anyway, it tells you things. So like even this tradition, you learn the practical things for the different items. But at the end of the day, what it really is teaching you is to go from the heart, and you learn to look at your mesa and what shines to you, or see what somebody like Tony came to one of my sound baths the other day and he saw something. He's like, tell me about that. It's shining to me, or whatever, Tony, how he would say it. And then it opened up a whole conversation around that. So like, it's about following your heart and getting out of the head and into this space and really just operating from there. And a belting ceremony helps with that.
Pretty sure this is Zane.
Not, I don't know. Maybe.
He's always.
It could be Zane. It could be Tony. Could be.
No. Tony usually his name will be there with his picture.
Oh, true, because he knows how to click the button in the link. Yeah.
Karen's like, great gift, left you on a fabulous spiritual path. Yeah, so
sure
you
did.
getting gifted that first set is what started all of this. So, and surprisingly, looped how many of us into this?
Without and there's synchronicity twice with that, because Dave gave them to me. And then I found Zane and I reached out and connected with Zane, and then we didn't do anything for a bit. And then Zane went to it's in Erie, Pennsylvania, Jane's place. And he had a class with Zane. And then he messages me, hey, dude, I found this guy who will totally blow your hair back, which is totally funny because I have no hair. And then it was Zane again. So like that's when I was like, okay, now this dude's come across my path twice. So clearly I am supposed to reach out. And that's when I reached out again and then finally connected with them to bring him to Cleveland. Yes, it is Zane. Welcome.
I think in my not humble opinion, I think the belting pretty close to the death rites of importance and like takeaways for the class for people. The death rites, just that whole experience and the expansion of self and where are you working from, and what is your things that would hold you from crossing over, right? But then the belting, and this is where so many people, when they come into the store and they're like, I am so empathic, I can't even go into Giant Evil. I'm like, really? Why can't you? Go claim your space and go claim your groceries. Why is this an excuse to hide? So, and then I'm thinking like, well, the apprenticeship, and once you get through the belting and the process leading up to it, now you are in a space where you're no longer like, I can't because of what I feel or what I'm, experiencing, because you gain these extra bands that now kind of help filter and kind of hold and give you the decision of what do you want to do with it. So it will kind of force you to come out of like this potential victim mode of I can't this, I can't that, I can no longer this because of what I feel. Really? So, but if you're, really ready to kind of like put those excuses down and reasonings, explanations to yourself, however you want to word them, and kind of step into a space of like, okay, I'm going to move forward and I'm going to learn to navigate this and how to work with it for myself and those around me. Like that belting ceremony point of the apprenticeship is like key for that. For like the empaths that are thinking of ever stepping into this, like make it up to that point that weekend. And depending on how it's going to be structured, maybe the weekend after, so you can come in and say, oh my God, I've experienced this. Here's the changes of then. And now I have questions about this, or, but it's fun because once they're there, and Hank, I know you've had this happen, Zane with his, pookly eye. Like now, we can potentially, or on purpose, throw, energy at one another. And, without
Yeah.
even making a motion that you're doing it, right? There's no fancy hand gestures that you're doing. It's just the intention of sending it to whoever. And then, that person can then feel it, hold it and go, oh, that's funny, right back at you. So that's on purpose. So not only tupai, okay. Word. But and if anything, it's a good exercise to keep those belts, strong. And are you aware? And the flexing of that muscle.
Yeah. There's also the Chumpi Awe, which is an energy practice that you run after being belted to maintain that, because the belts are one of those things that you haven't done. And if you don't maintain it, it's possible that you need it again. So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that all these things are things that you ideally want to incorporate into your daily life. And Zane will tell us to do something like an exercise every day for a month. It's not that you really have to do it every day, but you're setting the foundation that it becomes automatic. So in the moments that you need it, it can just be there for you. And you're like developing that skill set so it's there when you need it and you don't have to focus on it as much. Same thing with the Chumpi Way and that type of thing.
Yeah, it becomes like a muscle memory.
Yep.
Instead of where you have to think to do it.
Yeah. And Tupai, we actually do that a little bit early in the program. It's not related to the building, but there'll be a thing where you kind of like make a nice little hoochie ball, and you launch it at someone, and you kind of go back and forth with the energy of feeling the energy get launched, and then you work with it and you feel the shift, and then you trade and you get a little bit of heaviness and you launch it back to the person, and you learn how to do this energetic sparring, which he calls Tupai.
Yes.
Tupai. I need a Tupai.
And he says also, if you take a big energetic hit, it can destroy a belt. But the great thing is they can be redone. It's not once it's gone forever. So, but yeah, the death rites and the belting are probably like the two standpoints of the apprenticeship for me that I'm like, these are the selling points for people to really evaluate, see how you're operating, where you want to go in your spiritual development, your life. And now I have these tools and this knowledge to do that. The whole apprenticeship is amazing, but those are the two that I'm like, make it through up until here. If nothing else, get through to this point. And you'll be good to go. And when you've got those mastered and you want to step in the next time we offer it, then you can start where you left off and finish if need be. But yeah, those are the two points to make it through. And I say make it through to sound like it is so taxing. It's not. It's not.
No, it's really just a matter of getting out of the head about thinking about the commitment and things, and boiling it down to a single choice is like, is this right for me? Is this for me? And this is the time. And you kind of already know, like for my very first Pachamama, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my jam. And then I knew I wanted to host Zane for like everything. So,
I mean, usually I know there are some people who in the first ones that were all in person, like they were so like, oh, by the end of it, because all of the experience, the energy and the info that they were like, whew, you know, I'm glad I need to go process this. Where usually I was like, oh, it's done. Like I have to wait a month to come back and do this. But even the ones that were like, wow, a lot happened. Like, even though class was over, people were still standing around talking, asking questions and comparing, you know, notes or experiences and, you know, and signing up again for the next round because each one's different. But it's not overly taxing. We're not going to make you run 30 miles uphill carrying rocks, chanting.
No, that's the second year.
Yeah. You will not be forced to fold and unfold and refold your little Kintu cloths until it's perfect.
Yeah. Now, I did just post in the one thing Zane wrote too. Let me go back to that. He said that once you've had the belts weaved by someone, that you can reweave themselves, and I believe that's the Chumpi way. Is that just practicing the Chumpi way, or do you actually reweave them yourself? I'm just curious which way that is. And then I put in the comments, if there's anybody out there that are thinking about the program, or you have like more specific questions that are personal to you that you don't feel comfortable putting on the stream, I just put a link for my clarity calls. It's like my little discovery call. Feel free, you can book a time and talk one-on-one, or money's a thought that you need to have some sort of arrangements and things. All that can be talked about. If you feel really called for this, please reach out and have a conversation, and we can go from there to see how we can make that dream a reality.
There's multiple ways of paying and going through. Nobody's ever left out. You know,
no Paco left behind.
That's right. Me and Zane all believe, like, if this is your path, then you are meant to be on it. We'll figure it out. Let's see. Yeah, Zane's like, it is a spiritual grad school. It is. Let's see. It's the Chumpi way. You can do it for yourself if one breaks.
Well, that's what I just asked. Oh, it is a Chumpi way. That's Zane talking. So the Chumpi way is the energy practice of running the energy through. There's a specific sequence that you do for that, and it can reweave the belts. So perfect. That's exactly my question.
I guess we can put the banner up real quick. If you're thinking of taking, there's the link to the Gaslight website with the payment options. There's different ways that you can click through and decide which one works for you. And if none of them are quite perfect, again, reach out to Hank to discuss that. Because no Paco left behind. You have found your tribe of crazy, and we're not going to leave anybody behind. We're on the crazy bus. We take turns driving. It's fine. It's fine. But if you guys have questions, hey, Brooke, if you have questions, feel free to ask. We're talking about the little Chumpi stones. Chumpi. I think Maria Cerna uses hers a few more times than I have as well. But she does a really nice, right? I love crazy. Yep. We're all on the crazy bus. We're all going to the same darn place. Brooke, navigate the crazy. Right.
Navigating is probably the best word for it. When we had like the beginning class online, Zane called it navigating the sacred. And that's really what you're learning, because everything is sacred, and we're really just learning to navigate it more and more skillfully. I like to say, you learn how to ride the waves of creation to surf to your destination, because that's what we're in, this Kausai Pacha, this field of living energy, and you're just learning how to surf, man. And and that really is, you get a lot of tools that allow you to hang time a little bit better.
Zane says this year is going to be something special and different than the years before. So, nothing like building excitement, wink, wink. And that being said, Zane is going to be putting together like a 2-week intro that he is working on that. Like, he literally was talking about this yesterday. So he's finalizing those details. And because my phone is in do not disturb, it's not wanting to wake up for me to read the chat description because, technology. Great when it works properly. It will be the basic intro to mystical shamanic teachings of tradition, including basic exercises and the framework to all for deeply meaningful spiritual experiences. So keep an eye out for that. So if you're kind of interested but not quite sure and you want to dip your toes in there a little bit, that will be coming soon from Zane himself. So you get to bypass us and go to the bus depot of the crazy
bus depot.
And
that works.
learn from him.
Yeah. And then I don't have the dates yet, but I will be offering, at least I've done it at the store before too. I will offer, I'll probably do one. I can't do it then. You gotta think about this. Anyway, I will be doing like some information nights where it's just like an hour and a half opening up in ceremony, answering questions, and that would be an opportunity. I'll do one at Goddess Sleep probably on the first Thursday because my base will be set up. I can just roll right into doing that later on that day. So we'll roll that out officially, but a couple different opportunities if you want to get a taste of the tradition in action, that you'll have that opportunity with Zane or myself. Definitely Zane, because his whole thing, but mine will be information nights, and it's going to be more kind of like my sound bass, but without the sound. Just open up in ceremony and see what happens, and then close out at just like a quick 9-minute thing to give you a little flavor of it.
Now, Zane, people are wondering if they are not local to wherever you're teaching this in person, can they participate in the introductory online only? And while we wait, let's see. Karen's like, I ordered Zane's book at the store with Marianne's book. I need to get my bum up there to pick it up. Well, ma'am, you can come pick it up today. Both Hank and I will be there today. I will not be with you for your first Thursday at the store because I will still be in Tucson.
That's so, okay.
If you
Tucson, maybe I can go with you instead. That sounds lovely.
I get more done with fewer helpers there.
I didn't say who said I was going to help. I just want to go.
Arizona trip, right? We're going to give the whole apprenticeship to Tucson.
That is a vision to have. Like, I had this idea a couple of years back of having like a power Karpay. A power Hatan Karpay, and each weekend would be in a different location, like Niagara Falls or Grand Canyon. Like, that is a vision that I still think would be wonderfully fun to do. Like those 7 weekends that we're going to do out of Goddess Elite, having them all around the country or the world, where it's just like, it's really kind of a vacation, but in addition to the vacation, you're getting initiated and having some teachings and then run around and do your own thing a little bit. It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. See, there's Zane's quote that I love. We're all crazy here, but there's important work that can only be done in the crazy.
Yes, this is true. In fact, I have the theory that there's only one normal person out there, and because they're normal, everybody thinks they're crazy, so it's impossible to figure out who it is.
And yes, it will all be online. So friends from everywhere can do the 2-week introductory, dip your toes in there, feel it out with Zane. Road trip, right? So everybody wants to go to Arizona, and then we have to bring Chair over. We're going to have to get her on a plane first to come join us when she's not in school. And that's all I'm going to say. Because we do not interrupt school studies. Finish school first.
And if you are, I know we had a couple people in Florida that were considering the program, and if you're like far away and you would be traveling, reach out, because we are looking to possibly do something where the people who are flying from Florida will double up the first time, and then they can skip and then double up, so that will minimize how many times they have to come to Cleveland without missing anything. So if that might be you, reach out, book a clarity call, and let's see what we can create. Or, if you want to host one in your area and you have enough interest, that also can be done. Because I know I've gone to Buffalo and we've had different things at Fellowships of the Spirit in New York. So depending where you're at, maybe we could come to you, would be the other possibility. So
long extended weekend.
Yeah, it's really a matter of if you feel called, how many different ways could this manifestation happen in your life to bring this tradition to you? Instead of coming to us, maybe Zane's going to you, maybe I'm going to you. Me, Zane, Melissa, we all can do the initiations for the Hatan Karpay, and what is possible? I have like a group of private students now that I brought through everything. So
I can
it's
feel Zane over
fun.
off to the side, like, what? I'm trying.
What? Wait, what's Zane saying? What about?
Oh, he hasn't
He's come
typed.
to the East
I can
Coast.
just feel him being like, "Well, I'm being volunteered to do what now?"
No, he loves driving. Like the farther, the better for Zane. If it's a far drive, he'd be like, "All right, I'm going to go just because I want to get in my car and drive somewhere."
Yeah, I'm like,
It's
well,
true.
whereas I fall asleep because I get really bad road hypnosis driving, so I will be in the back seat sleeping if it's a car ride. That's why I fly to Tucson because I will never get there if I'm driving.
I remember the first year you drove and you almost died. Not literally, but like it was really
Never
rough
again.
for you.
29 hours each way from the store parking lot. Hell on earth. That drive.
Yeah. I
Come
felt the same way. I drove to Boston once and back, and that's not even that far. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. But it was more because of the driving in Boston, not so much getting there. That city is just crazy to drive in.
They are
It's
the
worse than New
politest,
York.
rudest drivers ever. Like
Yeah.
they will wave at you as they cut you off. Wave you like thank
Yeah.
you and cut you off.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's no thankful here. I was not wanting you to do that.
I'm confused on how to feel right now.
Yeah. So cities I don't like driving in, Boston's like number one. That's worse than Chicago and New York for me. But all three of those cities are rough driving wise.
Yeah.
Mostly because of just a traffic jam. But Boston, I mind you, I was there before GPS was common on phones. And so I was trying to use like printed map stuff, and like without GPS, like the way that their city system, the street system works, you just get more and more lost. You think you can just go around the block and you'll be fine, but it doesn't work that way. Anyway, okay, I'm done talking about traffic.
See, that's why when I went to Salem, we parked and just rode the trains.
Right. Oh, the tea is great. I
That's
like that a
the
lot.
way to do it. Where on the East Coast, Sylvie? Because depending, I've got friends scattered. We can maybe see about this. I've got, a good friend up in New York as well. And I'm like, it's scattered, benefits of being Army brat and ex-Army wife. I know people in places. Pennsylvania. Okay. Yep. I think we both might have somebody in that area or maybe on either side of the state to
Mhm.
kind of get into.
Got a couple people.
But Pennsylvania is huge. It's like that,
is.
it's almost like Texas, that unending. Like it's still 8 hours. Like if you're going catty corner down.
And it's hilly too, so you can't just look at the map and say it's not that far because you get the up and down and everything. It
Not
feels
that
small
far
though. If
does
you're going,
not equal not that long of a drive.
when I go to New York though, like for Lilydale, like you're in and out of Pennsylvania, it makes it feel like it's short, but it's totally not.
No, because you're going through that little bitty nub of a tip. Brooke, Karen wants to know if she can stay with you. She said she's house trained. How big is your backyard? There might be tents in your backyard. Provided there's no bears, because one of the times I went to go visit grandma in West Virginia, we camped out back, and in the morning, Papa was like, "Oh, I see the bears didn't get you." I'm like, "Haha, there's no bears." He's like, "Oh, yes, there is. Look at all these bear moms." I'm like, "And you let us sleep out here? Thanks."
Don't get me started about bear stuff. Me and my in-laws. Nah.
Ooh, so we can get those tents that float on water.
That would be fun.
Safer than that floating tent down a river. Yeah, so there's options of coming and going. So if you're not local, I'm so coming. She said jacuzzi. I'm in. For friends that are not local. So if you're having to travel for this year, like we will work it out for you. So you're not trying to get on a plane or do long drives, every so often. We will work it out for you.
Yep.
Have plane tickets, have plane apps. We'll fly. Hey, Moonlight. Hello. We've been kind of on a tangent lately, the last 7 minutes.
Well, the main topic is pretty bad. There's not much more to tell. You weave the bolts, and then
without going into all the teachings, which we don't want to do on.
Yeah, I would say though that the 5 energy centers that you weave the bolts through, you kind of connect them, and the way that Zane describes it is then when you have something coming into your field that you might usually be impulsive about and just react to. You can elevate it to the heart and respond with compassion, or you can elevate it to the throat and respond with your truth and authenticity. And it just kind of, it empowers you to respond more readily than react. It elevates everything, would be the way that I would say it. Or as they would also say, and I'm going to swear, shit hits, but it doesn't stick. Your bubble becomes like Teflon.
Well, and it's funny, right? Because in other teachings, traditions, whatever, Hank, I know you've heard this or maybe even said it to people, but for like the empathic people where they're like, I feel this, I feel that. And when you ask them, is it yours or somebody else's? They get this like, huh? Look on their face because they haven't learned to like see it, acknowledge it, but not take it in. Like you can literally hold it out here and go, this is sadness. It's not mine. And those belts kind of help teach you, how to like stop it and go, here's what this is. It exists. I don't need to take it in and own it and then suffer it, whatever it might be. This is what it is. And back to you, back wherever you go. So I think that like aha moment for people when they learn that like, really, is it yours or not? And it's not yours. Oh, it's this little thing sitting here that, you are in control of.
That's one thing in Peru. When a child's first born, they do a couple things. One of which is a soul retrieval for being cut from the mother. But the other thing is to regulate at your Cusco with your navel. That is your connection to this field of living energy, and they regulate that. And they actually have a little, I don't know if it's a saying, but one thing that is said is the children of the North walk around with leaking navels. We haven't learned to regulate that input and to learn that, we're just like taking everything in. And that's why we have like an empath crisis in the States, where the program and it teaches you that, you can feel something out here and not bring it in completely.
Yeah, that's almost like IBS for the spiritual side.
Right. Yeah.
So the apprenticeship will allow you to not have to take Linzess for your spiritual IBS. You'll learn to take care of that without medication.
Right.
Hello. Yeah, like I've said already a few times, the death rites and the Chumpi belting are probably like the two big key points for the apprenticeship for people that I think for a lot of at least people I know, be it in person or friends online, those are the two pillar points that I'm like, here. This will give you so much knowledge and more tools in your tool belt to get through and not feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Here's new options for you. And if you don't finish it, make it through at least to this point. Because unless the order has changed, Zane, death rites comes before Chumpi belting, right? Or is that
not necessarily? There's things that can be switched.
Okay.
And like in our class, we had two people who hadn't had it yet, and we actually swapped one time when like Gail and Claire were wanting to come, and they hadn't had one of the things. We swapped one of the weekends. So like there's certain things that have to be done in order. There's other things. There's flexibility to shape and shift.
Okay. Hey, Richie is thinking of joining us. So Richie, keep an eye out. Zane is going to be offering an online only 2-week. Like dip your toes in, get a taste of it, help you make up your mind. Are you in, are you out types thing. But it will be online only. In Zane, because Richie, I know works not normal hours, is if he wants to join, but he can't do it during your normal 9 to 5 during the day, will he be able to watch it like afterwards? I know like my son himself works 3rd shift. He's sleeping. So if like the classes are 10 to, 4, he'd be like, I've got to go to bed. So could people watch it afterwards if need be? And Hank, for friends coming in lately, you will be offering the first Thursdays at the store with the whole Mesa come in experience, right? What all are you going to do again for our late comers?
So at Goddess Elite on the first Thursday of every month, I will have my full Mesa spread set up, and I'll put it up here so you can see it. It's something similar to this. It's always a little different, but I will do healings where you will stand around the Mesa, and I'll do different work. And then at least for February in the evening, I will plan to do. Oops, I will plan to do like a 60 to 90-minute introduction where we're open in ceremony and just talk a little bit about the tradition, answer any questions, and then close out. So it's not really intended to like teach any skill sets necessarily, but to give you a taste of the opening, the ceremonial part of it, and just the vibe, really. Because for my first Pachamama, I knew it was for me. And if you're like me, you can come in and experience just a taste of what it really is, and you'll know. And then once you've decided that something's for you, the universe kind of works it out. Like when I went to fellowships for my 2-year program, I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I just signed up, and then everything worked out and it was fine. And I had the money. And so like I think sometimes it's like that. You just need to know. And once you've made the choice with your heart, the universe makes everything else kind of work out.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe Zane is a little busy right now. He might get called away. So Richie, when I find out, I will let you know. We'll put it out there for everybody, I'm sure. But Zane is working on that info page and link with more information. So that will be released. Like this was literally a I have an idea conversation that started yesterday. So it's being finalized. And that could be what he's working on right now. It's like, oh crap, got to get that up. Oh, good, Karen. Karen's going to come try your class. Give him a hard time. Good. Ask a lot of questions. Keep him on.
Try to stump the Paco. And I'm fine with when people ask a question I don't know. I love it because I'm like, I will get back to you. I'll ask my teacher. I love it when someone can ask a question that is of that nature where it encourages another conversation with Zane where I'm going to learn something too. Because if I don't know, somebody else does. And Zane's back.
Yes. So question was, Zane, if somebody wants to join your online only, dip your toes in there, if they work weird hours, third shift, and they can't be live, are they able to watch it later?
Do they need to be available real time is really the question for any portion of it, or can they miss it and catch up?
Yeah. So cue the Jeopardy music. We won't really play because we don't want to get a copy strike.
Yeah, they're really strict about that. Silly people.
Yes. Which one? Yes, they can watch it later.
Yes, they can watch it later. I'm sure. Okay. I would think.
I was gonna say, or when you're like, do they have to be present live? I'm like, oh, which one?
No.
Yes. Okay. So Richie, you would be able, if you wanted to do the 2-week introductory, work it around your work schedule. And anybody else, if you have, and like even Chair, like, because I know we're in a time zone difference. So if Chair wanted to dip toes in there.
They can do it in their own time, Zane says. So.
The mysterious Facebook user. That's like the ultimate mystery guru teaching thing, right? Like it doesn't say Zane, it's mystery Facebook user. I think he does it on purpose.
He likes to be mysterious.
You're welcome, Chair. So yeah, you guys got any more questions? I'm running out of things to ramble about to eat time while we wait for questions, quite honestly.
Yeah. Final call for questions. I mean, we presented all of our data for this stream, so it's all just bonus stuff. And then next time, we'll talk about these little guys. Well, or in the longer runs, I'll have a couple other ones that we can talk about. The mayoral staffs that we alluded to on the last stream. So that's our teaser for next week. That you can learn about staffs, all the fun things you can do.
I might actually have to have mine.
The link does not exist yet. Zana's working on it.
Yeah, that dip your toe in there. He is finalizing that, and I will send it over to you, Brooke, when we get it.
Well, I clicked that by accident. Join us to learn to play in the field of possibilities, but I warn you, nothing is just what it seems. There we go.
Yeah. So Zane offered, like, hey, I have this idea, and I'm like, yes, do it. And this was probably around 4:00 yesterday. So putting the info together, the website page and links, will be coming. And I'll get that over to you as soon as we have it.
Yeah. And by next week, we'll be prepared to actually post the link so people could just click through. And what we can do once we have it, we can also post a link in the stream comments of all the different platforms. I don't think that works with Twitch when you're not live.
Not as easily. But
yeah,
if you send, like Debbie, we can definitely send it to you. So send either myself or Hank an email and be like, hey, send me that link when you have it. We'll send it over to you. Since you're on YouTube, we can't message you on YouTube. So if you want to send an email, we'll definitely get it to you. Should be up this weekend.
And I'll include it. I'm going to be doing a dedicated email blast just about the apprenticeship program, and I'll put my intro things in, and I'll put Zane's intro thing in, and we'll have, if you're on my email list, you will get all that in a single shot. That will give you all the different possibilities to learn about it and learn more about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what?
Random question.
So yes, there are animal ghosts and spirits. And a ghost isn't only just highly intelligent in particular. If you remember from like when we would do the Marianne chats, it's just a human that doesn't cross over. But if you want, Wednesday mornings at 10, Richie actually, and Emily, we do a paranormal discussion, 10 a.m. on all the channels. So we can talk all things like ghostly and paranormal on those chats. And it's funny because another Twitch friend just asked kind of a similar question yesterday because they have a past kitty cat that comes and visits. So, but yes, there are animal spirits.
This is Zane, I'm sure too. I promised to cook you real good in the intro class. That's one of my favorite phrases. Like when we have the Mesa up, we just say everything's cooking. Like as soon as that work begins until you're done, you're cooking. And I will also tell you that the second you sign up for the apprenticeship, the work begins. That's been my experience with Zane's things or anything I've ever taken. The second I've energetically committed to it, it's almost as though the benefit from that work starts to unfold in my life as soon as the choice is made. So you'll get cooked real good and real fast. Or slow cooked, maybe. I don't know if it's not really fast.
Percolate. Yeah. Simmer for how many months? Yes. And yes, Chair, on our channel. Yeah, so the channel you're watching on will definitely be there. And you can go back and watch our old ones too if they're still up there on Twitch. But thanks for joining, guys. It's been fun. And if you have more questions that pop up before next Thursday, feel free to whisper, email, message, all the technical names depending on the platform you're on. And we'll get, some answers over for you, especially if it's a question that you don't feel comfortable asking in front of everybody. Yep. So, or they posted a private session with Hank,
Yeah, it's called a clarity call. I put it in the comments, and that's specific if you have a life situation or it's money things or whatever that you really feel called and you need to work out some details, book a clarity call or message me. You don't have to book the clarity call. You can just message me and say, hey, when can we talk? It doesn't have to be official through the scheduler. It just does show you when I'm actually available. So,
yeah.
Very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're local, I'll be at Goddess Elite today till I booked them. So I have availability up until 4:00 at the store if you wanted to stop in and hang out or ask questions or get a session.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same channels.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.